Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are resuming public session, and if we could at this time, and would our soon-to-be reappointed student trustee, Bryn Johnson, lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could just remain standing for a moment, sorry, should have announced that first. We crossed the 22nd anniversary of the most historic event. Many of us in this room, probably not the two of you, who didn't actually witness it, which is remarkable to people like us. But if we can just, have a moment of silence for those lives and families that were affected by 9/11. Thank you. Having said that, it's always a feeling of pride when our students serve in the ceremonies that take place throughout throughout our district and throughout the area. It's really nice to see. All right, so just a reminder of the emergency exits immediately to the back of the room and to my right, to the audience left. In the event of an emergency, please exit safely and follow the rest of the emergency signs. Also a reminder that there is no smoking on district grounds, in any area of district grounds, not permitted in the buildings or as we said, any of the grounds. This is also a hate-free and bully-free school district. So if you can be anything, be kind. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda and the superintendent.
Thank you, President Felice. The administration recommends your approval of broad consent items reflected in Schedules C1 through C7.
Okay, we have a motion that's necessary for C1 through C7. We have a motion. Motion by Trustee Barry, seconded by Trustee Trent. Any discussion on those? Just want to say one of those motions is to reappoint Bryn Johnson for her third consecutive year here on the board as a student representative, ex officio board member. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the consent agenda, C1 through 7, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're up to communication and announcement and the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Just prepare these slides. Thank you, President Felice. And once again, congratulations to Ms. Johnson. Pretty amazing. I've never seen it in my career that we've had an ex officio serve for 3 consecutive years. I don't know if this is something you're looking to do in your adult life, close to your adult life, but we'll talk about that briefly. All right, so here's my superintendent's report. It's been a couple of weeks. Actually, I'm getting my notes. Last meeting, so I'm going to go through this. A lot has happened that we're super excited about. So I will begin first with our last celebration, which is our August graduation. I want to congratulate all of our August grads. One of the things I communicated to them, it's not when you get there, it's that you got there. So I want to congratulate all of them for their achievement. One of the things that we're looking at in New York State is they established what's called the Blue Ribbon Committee, looking at graduation requirements. Sometimes kids' graduation is held up because of one single Regents exam. Typically, like our English language learners have trouble passing the English Regents, which is not an English proficiency test. It's actually a difficult test for most students, and it's time-consuming, it's laborious, and so it's sort of heartbreaking when you look at students who have fulfilled their credit requirements, they're students of good standing, who can't be issued a diploma because of one exam. So the Blue Ribbon Commission has been looking at that. They're reporting back to us in November, so I'll keep the board posted to see if there are any changes or any proposals that they make. Second, we had, during the summer, we had orientation at the high school. There is Bryn. She'll be in a lot of pictures because, like I said, I think she beats me in terms of how many events she attends. But it was a great day of orientation. There were presentations made to students and parents. The Student Senate gave tours of the building. Chromebooks and schedules were given out. And there were some workshops on just character education that was hosted by our PE teachers. I thought it was a great and successful day. Compliments to the high school administration for putting together a great program, and for everybody who assisted, including our student senate and high school staff. We also had the walkthrough at our middle school. A lot of anxious and nervous and excited sixth graders coming in. It was amazing to see them in the hallways, even more amazing to see them on day one when they hit the ground running. But they had an opportunity to walk around the building and familiarize themselves with the middle school. That's somewhat confusing. I still get lost when I walk around the middle school. So big credit to those sixth graders who I was in the middle school yesterday. Seemed that they've already figured it out, so it was pretty fantastic. We also provided orientation for our new teachers. We have a great new batch of new teachers joining our district that represent diverse backgrounds and perspectives. In fact, 4 or 5 of them are actual Bellport grads, which is also fantastic to see people coming back. Topics included during our orientation were instructional technology. Again, that was facilitated by Krista Albrecht, our new director of instructional technology, who's already had a substantial impact in our district, and we're happy to have her. We talked about restorative practices, culture of care, instructional expectations, which are really important, student support, and that was presented by our special education department, collegiality, working together, and they got a South Country bus tour courtesy of the VTA, so they can familiarize themselves with our entire district. It was a successful 3 days. Their energy was fantastic, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what they bring to our school district. In addition, we hosted our conference days, which are typically called superintendent's conference days, but I'm not sure I like that title so much because really it's a team effort of us engaging in professional development. The morning was opened up by Beth Doyle. She presented our South Country District instructional priorities, which are really important. I think, I spent last year talking a lot about our sports program, music programs. This year I'm really going to focus on our instructional programs. And that's not to say I did it last year, but certainly I want to be a little bit more public about it so that the community and the board knows exactly what we're doing. A lot of it centered around our DSIP priorities. That's a district's comprehensive improvement plan. As you're aware, 2 of the 3 schools that were on the targeted list have been removed from those lists. The middle school remains on the list, but they were upgraded. So it's our expectation to get off that list this year and to have no schools on any list from the state. So kudos to the staff at Brookhaven and Critz for doing their due diligence and working towards that end. But basically our priorities for the school year when it comes to instruction is to increase student attendance, of course. There is a direct correlation, which is pretty obvious, between attendance and achievement. Second is to continue to foster a culture of care where students feel a sense of belonging and a connection to the school community. Again, if students and staff feel better about the district or good about the district, it's going to make them perform better. And finally, ensuring access to learning for all students through student-centered learning experiences. Students and young people are different, which leads me to my presentation opening day, which is a focus on best practice entitled, "The World is Different and There is No Going Back." At a certain point, we need to accept that students are different than we were. The reason I kind of picked this topic was because so many people told me or speak to me and say, I remember when I was a student, and we can't say that anymore. It's inconsequential. With the advent of technology, social media, students have access to information in their pockets. We got to change the way we do things, and there is no going back. And so that's kind of going to be the thematic element of the school year, is that, how do we become a lot more contemporary? How do we know our audience and address the needs of our students today, not our students from yesterday? And how do we push through all that anxiety and uncertainty that our current world brings our students? So really excited. It was a fun presentation, very well received by the district. This also included 2 days of professional development, including the professional development on the different sort of identities that students have these days, that's somewhat different to people. So we had a presentation to all of our teachers, K-12 to that end. We have presentations to our teachers in terms of pedagogy, and all of our units actually. There's professional learning for our safety officers, and the picture in the lower section there is a professional development for our professional learning, I want to change the term, for our clerical staff. So everybody engaged in training during those 2 days. It was productive, and I'm glad that it was a success. And a credit to everyone involved in making that happen, from BTA to our district, our cabinet, to our directors, administrators, different people, different folks had roles in these couple days. We also engaged in building tours right after our conference days with our board. Trustee Trent is already smiling because he knows what's coming. So we started our tour, our South Haven Pre-K Center, which was a great sort of tour. You know, one of the things that we're working on is, besides the cleanliness of the building, is adding a vestibule. We're hoping to complete that project this year. We also visited Brookhaven Elementary School, where we had some fun with the playground equipment that was newly installed. And again, they're doing great things down in Brookhaven. The building looked fantastic. This is a goal-setting wall, so I had to share the goals that were shared by Raphael Flippin, or Trustee Flippin. His goal was to learn something new every day. Trustee Trent's goal was to have fun. Which again is the balance we're looking for. School is supposed to be fun, and you're supposed to learn. So I thought that was a great balance and two great goals. We also visited Kramer Street Elementary School. I'm going to discuss a couple of things that are happening there, but we did some sidewalk improvement, added some playground equipment. We visited Critz. This is some pictures in one of the restorative practices rooms where kids can gather and discuss conflicts. We had fun with the bean bags, but it was a great little space, an alternative space with flexible seating for our kids. So really excited to be implementing that with all the restorative coaches we have district-wide. We visited Frank P. Long. We had some of their floors redone. We had a fence limiting access to the playground. We're working on some other safety improvements as the year progresses. We also visited our middle school, and one of the things that we really enjoyed at the middle school was all the different flexible seating. This picture here is just a depiction of desks that are at different levels. So if you're in the back row, you're actually high, and you can look at the front of the classroom. And there was just a couple of trustees being a little naughty in the class. But it was great fun sitting these, just the atmosphere of the classroom was so different. We all wanted to sit in the different types of furniture. One of the most remarkable things was these elastic bands that they put on the chairs of the student chairs, which allows you to fidget with your feet. So you know how sometimes you want to tap your feet all the time, or you get the restless leg syndrome? This elastic band allows you to do that silently. So you can literally go a mile a minute with your legs without making any noise or disrupting the class. So it's amazing for students who just get the jitters sometimes. So all of these things are sort of proposed by our teachers and implemented at the middle school. And of course, they have a fantastic courtyard, but that's on a later slide. And Bellport High School has a lot of sort of enhancements that we saw throughout the day. But a big, really credit to Frank Pirro, our facilities director, and our custodial staff, because here's just, again, I had shared this in the August meeting, but I want to share it again. We've done so much work during the summer that's pretty remarkable. And again, this is all budget, within our budget, and we're just sort of trying to feel that clip of pride across the board. And but these are some, you know, obviously our capital reserve vote. I want to thank the community again. Our turf field has been fully installed. It's being used. We have some ADA compliant playground equipment at Frank P. Long, STEAM labs. We renovated the Head Start building, which is a rental property for us. New playground equipment, new floors at Frank P. Long, safety fences. Our high school art wing has been redone, which is pretty fantastic. It just makes the workspace more hospitable. And other things that are not as glamorous, but just repairing the facade at the middle school. And of course, our district office upgrades that were made using our own staff and with existing paint. So I think I'm really satisfied and happy about the work that was done there. And of course, we renovated our high school gym lobby with some more signage that reflects our Clipper pride. The duck pound at the high school, which was done on a volunteer basis by Mr. White at the high school and the community members, is really so zenful and relaxing. It really is a beautiful space. We have a new digital scoreboard, which will be sort of debuted tomorrow at our first home football game. New walkways at Kramer, new courtyard at Bellport Middle School, which is almost complete, which looks fantastic. And of course, I want to give a shout again to our maintenance crew, because a lot of this work was done by them. So I'm really proud of their work. And there's a whole lot more to come. We're currently looking at different proposals from our energy performance contract. And just as a reminder to the community and board, we're going to potentially engage in $5 to $6 million in improvements that are going to make our schools greener, more energy efficient, and it's going to be budget neutral. So basically, the way we pay for all these repairs is based upon the money we'll save from our energy costs, which is guaranteed. Energia is a reputable company. I've spoken to other superintendents who have engaged in these energy performance contracts. And again, another budget-neutral way to do capital improvements that are going to generate state aid in the future. So really excited to that, and we'll keep the board posted as we get more developments. Moving on, had the privilege of visiting all of our schools on the first day of school. These are just some shots from Bellport High School. The atmosphere was very positive. We added some outdoor seating for lunch, and despite the extreme heat on those days, students found ways to keep cool. This was a group of students eating lunch outside in the courtyard, and I loved what they wrote in chalk, which was, "You got this, Clipper Pride, have fun." So that's basically a great way to start a school year, and a shout out to all of our high school students. I did stop by the middle school as well. That's a picture of our 6th graders walking proudly with their Chromebooks. Kids always love getting devices. The work that comes with it, they don't love so much, but they'll get through it as they manage or navigate their middle school years. Frank P. Long, there was a lot of positivity in the building as well. This was a picture taken in one of our classrooms. We even had a retiree come back to add some coverage in our clerical office. Was nervous until she started. But yeah, it says in Spanish, una nueva aventura comienza, which means a new adventure begins. So we're looking forward to a great school year at Frank P. Long. I also had the privilege of visiting Kramer Street, which was also fantastic. One of the things we did was provide water bottles for our students so they could refill them at our water filling stations and make sure they were hydrated. And just as a point of information, in most of our schools, we shifted kids to our air-conditioned spaces during those extreme hot days. So we were able to mitigate the heat pretty well. I also visited Brookhaven Elementary School. I was really impressed by this little kindergartner already manipulating a smart board. And this is how they select their lunch. They go up to the smart board, they pick their names, and they slide their names into the column that represents the lunch they want. So it's a great use of instructional technology. But the kids were very loving, as were the staff, and they seemed ready for school. And I went to Vern W. Kritz as well. Again, I had a chance to stop by their cafeteria where they were having lunch. And the picture in the lower right-hand side, that young lady, I called her parent because she didn't seem too happy that I had disrupted her lunch, or her walk to lunch. So her name is Isabella, and I engaged in a staring contest with her, which I lost. But fantastic day at Kramer. It was fun to see the kids at lunch. I was just excited to be at school. We also went to South Haven Kindergarten Center. I was shocked. We almost had no criers. Typically day one for preschool, kids feel that separation anxiety and they cry. These kids look like they were pros, and we're talking about 3- and 4-year-olds. So a fantastic time, just welcoming these young learners to our district, and just to keep the board and community up to date. Our full-day program is full. We have at 90 students. We have 2 on the waiting list. We have 14 students attending our AM session, which means there's 4 spots available still. We have 8 attending our afternoon session, with 10 spaces available there. So we have open enrollment. There are people out there who want to enroll their children in either in the morning program or the afternoon program at South Haven. But it was a great day, and the kids are too adorable. Prior to the start of the school year, we also had our Ambassador for Compassion kickoff event, which is hosted by East Islip and Superintendent Paul Manzo, who also happens to be a fraternity brother of mine, so it was great to catch up with him and talk about the great program. Just to sum it up, the Ambassador for Compassion basically teaches student athletes to be sort of role models and mentors for other students. And basically the underlying message is that life is going to bring hardship and adversity. And so basically we want to equip people with the ability to deal with adversity. So it's not that bad things aren't going to happen, it's how you deal with the adversity is what matters. And one of the things I really took away from that is with this current generation of young people, we have an opportunity to create a future of people who are going to be ultra compassionate or ultra barbaric. And that really rung true to me, and the root cause of a lot of the poor decision making is unresolved pain, which makes a lot of sense. So the point of this program is to empower student athletes to be mentors and help other students navigate tough times. So having said that, we had a Bellport High School alumni, Dio Giamatti from WFIN, addressed the students along with some other celebrities. But nearly 200 of our varsity athletes attended this rainy day. It was pouring, but the students were in good spirits. They participated, they listened to the speakers. So big shout out to Patrick Hayes, our athletic director, for organizing this and having us join this national sort of program. and our coaches who participated as well. It really was a great day. I was happy to share in that experience with them. Speaking of sports, fall sports are underway. Here are some shots of different sports competitions from our scrimmage against Longwood in football, soccer, varsity volleyball. I attended the varsity soccer game for the boys as well. But just as a reminder, Bellport High School offers a whole slew of sports in the in the fall. Things ranging from varsity cross country all the way through our newest sport, which is cheerleading. For the first time, cheerleading is actually a competitive sport. Our cheerleading varsity cheerleaders and our junior varsity cheerleaders will be competing formally against other school districts. So I wish them well. And some of these sports obviously have teams that are dedicated for boys and for girls, and some are co-ed. Namely, cheerleading obviously is a co-ed sport, both boys and girls who join a cheerleading squad. And at the middle school, we have cross-country, football, soccer, lacrosse, girls tennis, and cheerleading. And we also have intramurals at Frank P. Long and Bellport Middle School happening in the fall. So I'm really excited for the season to come, and I can't wait to see all of our teams in competition. I didn't get to all of them last year, but I made a kind of a commitment to the students that I will at least see one game in each of our sports. I do want to talk a little bit about unofficial sportsmanship, just for fun, because school should be fun too, to Trustee Trent's point. At our football game in Center Reach, I had the privilege of throwing some passes to Assistant Principal Dan Favell, and he still has it. This is a long pass, a slant pass I shot to him, he caught it. And ironically, some of the parents in the who are watching the game were videotaping, watching, so I got some emails and saying, wow, you guys still have it. But watching from the sideline was Ava Salinas, our photographer. So she challenged me, so I did try to defend her, but obviously she beat me down the field because she's young and athletic and I am not. And she made a beautiful sideline catch. So I just want to share that with the community and board that we're all embracing this sort of community feeling. And yeah, work is work, and we take it seriously, but we have to carve out some time to have fun as well. President Felice alluded to remembering 9/11, which we call Patriot Day. Here are just some pictures of some of the things our students did, whether it was classroom projects that our students engaged in. So no student in our district was alive during 9/11. It happened 22 years ago. So that's pretty remarkable to me because it's such an impactful event for me, having grown up in New York City and the fact that I was living in New York City when it happened. Students at CRITS planted flags along the lawn, and some of our Bellport band members participated in an event in the village. I saw this post on social media from a teacher website, and the best way to honor those lost on 9/11 is to be the people we were on 9/12. And if there's any silver lining to this awful event, I do remember how much we came together. There were no political parties, there were no races, no religions. We were all just American. We all looked out for each other and we cared about each other. And we need to tap into that energy. And the idea of Patriot Day is to how do we pay it forward? How do we continue having that sort of spirit of compassion? So, I challenge everyone that we should never forget the spirit of compassion that came after 9/11. And that's a photo of myself and my brother actually on top of the World Trade Center. So I grew up looking at those buildings and cherishing those buildings, and it was really a tragic event in my life as a New Yorker to watch those buildings collapse. So let's all be compassionate. It's in us, and we saw it on 9/12. And so let's make sure we spread that kindness as the year progresses, in the manner in which we speak to each other and treat one another. Last night, I had the privilege of going to meet the teacher at Bellport Middle School. A big shout out to the high school administration for presenting. One thing we did different this year is we had a sort of parent presentation. We talked about our MTSS plan, which is our multi-tiered student support plan, what that means, how we provide student interventions. We also talked about the launching of our Pride initiatives, and that's going to be more instructional. We'll have Pride Days of Instruction. So again, Pride to us means the obvious, but it also means being prepared, respectful, involved, diligent, and ethical. And one of the things we adapted and combined from the middle school was the fact that, the middle schools always had the 3 A's, which also applies to high school, which is attendance, attitude equals plus achievement equals Clipper Pride. So it's something that we want to sort of kind of make part of our vernacular and part of our narrative as we talk to kids. And a big shout out to the PTA who hosted a book fair. It was very well attended. But I was really pleased with the attendance. And I want to thank guidance counselor Erin Mulaney and guidance counselor Faith Thompson-Lee for joining our administration and presenting our plans to the community, along with Dr. Colson and Ms. Daniel from the middle school. Finally, I just want to talk to community involvement, which is super important, and we have much gratitude. First, I want to thank SCOPE. Trustee Flippin had the pleasure of attending a SCOPE dinner with myself. Those of you who don't know, SCOPE is an organization. It's actually not an acronym. SCOPE is the name of the organization that's made up of retired administrators to help supplement student needs in various districts. The other person in the photo is Gerard Morris. He works for the South Country School District, but he's also the board president in Wyandotte. So he was there as a board member. So it's great to sort of just commiserate with other board members and other administrators in that event. And I certainly had a good time having dinner with Trustee Flippin. I also attended a SEPA Mujer event, which was a sort of a branch of our Girls Act program that we initiated in the high school last year. Girls Act services Latina girls from 14 to 20 years old, and it empowers them to be leaders, gives them work skills, and encourages community involvement. SEPA Moorhead is a non-for-profit organization that's based out of Patchogue, which is pretty fantastic. And Natasha Torres and Alicia Eraso are both Bellport High School graduates who run the program, who worked with some of our girls during the summer during this program. So this was a little graduation for them, completing this leadership program in the summer that we had a lot of pride, and I was happy to attend and support them. I also went to a substance abuse forum that was hosted by the Boys and Girls Club, which has done really fantastic things during the summer. But in attendance in this substance use and harm reduction forum was our Suffolk County Police Commissioner, Rodney Harrelson, Suffolk County Department of Health Commissioner, Dr. Gregson Piggott, and Suffolk County Chief Medical Examiner, Dr. Odette Hall. And they all spoke about sort of their approach to substance use and harm reduction. And one of the things I found very different in the narrative, it's not so much that we're so used to just saying no. They were just talking about the fact that sometimes we have to set that people are going to use substances. How do we keep them safe? How do we minimize the amount of people who engage in these behaviors? And what do we do about it in terms of helping educate people about the inherent dangers? So it was really informative to sit and listen to these three dignitaries talk. And again, a shout out to the Boys and Girls Club, who also hosted the Back to School Bash, which was attended by elected officials. Thank you again to the BTA for distributing books. They distributed backpacks. Raphael Flippin, obviously Trustee Flippin, is a large part of our Boys and Girls Club. He was there distributing backpacks along with several of our staff members and community members. And one of the things that they had was, given the popularity of the Barbie movie, Barbie's a thing, but there is one Barbie that no one will ever buy, and that's Superintendent Barbie. And I think that's the one Barbie that's going to stay on the shelves. So I just wanted to share that. And that photograph was taken by some of our students, much to their delight. I also want to thank South Country Ambulance, who provided some training to our coaches in terms of just responding to injuries on the field and some trauma-informed interventions. Our elected officials who have come in and sort of collaborated with us. In this picture, we have Senator Dean Murray, we have Assemblyman Joseph DeStefano that we contacted to see how we could kind of help the school district and work together moving forward. And of course, our student senate, because even though they're within district, they really service our whole district community, and they do a lot of community service. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. But again, it's community involvement is very important to us. And if you want to be informed, again, I go through this all the time. Please log on to our community portal. That's going to give you access to our community correspondence or district correspondence that we send to parents. We also, you just need to subscribe. It's pretty straightforward by going to our website. We also have a new link for our social media links. There are several social media platforms that we use, everything from STEM to world languages to my social media platforms. Each of the schools have a social media platform our community can follow. And of course, we have the Superintendent's Corner, which is updated monthly, in addition to my contact information should you want to reach out, in addition to our Twitter feed that's visible on our website, which is called now an X feed, I guess. In addition to my weekly update that I provide the district, it's basically a weekly blog that I put out on Friday nights. Community members have access to it if they want to log on to the weekly update link on the Superintendent's Corner. So all these are mechanisms to keep our community informed of all of our happenings, and there are a lot of great happenings, and I'm looking forward to a great year. And again, I want to thank the board and our community for their commitment to our school district. And that concludes my report.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. That brings us up to the trustee and advisory committee reports. So we'll begin with trustee Barry. Do you have anything to report?
I just have one thought, in looking at the 9/11 memorial pieces and what's going on out there in the world, is maybe to look, and I know it's a difficult time because of the beginning and start of school happening there as well, is maybe look to community service projects on that day and following the model and getting our students engaged in that early in the school year going forward, so that we can have some maybe accomplishments and things that people can do that day, and take a pause from the more traditional things in terms of memorial, because it might be more meaningful to our students.
Thank you.
That's a great point, thank you.
Trustee Kavanaugh.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, trustee Trent.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I attended the building walkthroughs with trustee Flippin and Hayes, and the buildings were immaculate. I've never felt so ready to start the school year, just from looking at the way the buildings looked, how prepared we were, and even talking to some of the faculty, how excited that they were. So I think, kudos and thank you to the folks involved in setting up the buildings, because I know what they look like before, I know what they look like after. And a lot of it being done by them themselves, so just wanted to mention that to everybody.
I appreciate that, trustee Trent, and again, I can't thank our maintenance crew enough, and Mr. Frank Pirro, director of facilities, for just, he's on top of it. And again, the notion is we want to feel pride. We shouldn't, accept things that are subpar. And all these little things add to just this feeling that you have, and when you walk into our facilities, you should feel good about them. We're going to continue working toward that end. Thank you, trustee Trent.
Thank you. All right, we have trustee Pacini and trustee Hayes on remote. Do either of you want to add to the reports?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Trustee, Vice President Hayes.
On the building tour, it was extraordinary this year. And I'm struck by the pride that I was seeing of our building staff about all the work that they've accomplished and, things that they want to keep doing. The other thing that goes along with that is the improvements in the outdoor space, in the various courtyards, and the little pond with the waterfalls in the high school. And the more we're bringing outdoor space into our children's lives, I think it's going to benefit everybody. And once we put in the mix, the new windows at Vern Cricks, which is coming up, we'll be letting in more green and more sunlight. And I think that that's going to give another boost. So I'm echoing what everybody else said. Thank you so much to our maintenance and custodial staff, and to everyone who made the effort over the summer to give us such a tremendous boost in appearance in our buildings and our grounds.
Thank you, trustee Hayes. And anyone attending our first home opener at the football game tomorrow afternoon is going to see some differences in our athletic complex as well. So I'm not going to say what they are, but I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow at 3:30. It should be pretty fantastic.
Okay. Does that conclude your report, Vice President Hayes? Thank you. Trustee Flippin and trustee Johnson.
I'm looking forward to a great year with the board. I'm excited to share the good things going on in our school, as well as some concerns among the student body as we meet more regularly. Before school started, the Student Council and the National Honor Society ran freshman orientation tours around the building. It was a great way for the incoming freshmen to meet new friends and learn the school. And also, Ms. Roach organized a project adventure, which took place in the gym. So this was a good way for the students to get comfortable with each other before they began the new year in a new building as well. The night before the first day of school, Bellport High School students chalked the sidewalk with positive messages for both teachers and students to see on their way into the new year. I would like to also point out some changes to the athletic facilities and thank Mr. Hayes as well as his crew and the board for putting these advancements into action and quickly installing the new turf, which is a noticeable difference. You can see the pellets rise up as the soccer ball is kicked, which it used to just be matted down. The new wind screens, which read positive Bellport Clippers or Clipper Pride, as well as the new scoreboard on Joseph Field. The new screen is able to do many presentations, and Mr. Hayes has been working hard to learn it. And the student body has made some presentations that will be projected over the scoreboard at games. Our Welcome Back Ice Cream Social was a hit. The Student Council handed out over 600 cups of ice cream to students who gathered in the courtyard. It was a great way to see everyone at the new tables that were put out in the courtyard, which students also enjoy at lunch during their lunch period. September 20th is Club Day. Club Day takes place in the courtyard, and each club decorates a table of what they do, and students walk around to see what clubs they would be interested in and sign up for them. Everyone is very excited for homecoming, and the classes have already started decorating floats. This year's theme is Decades, which will take place on October 7th. That's everything.
Well,
Thank
thank you and welcome back.
Thank you.
That brings us to public commentary. Do we have any cards? Seeing no cards, that brings us to items for discussion and action. F1 through 3. Mr. Superintendent.
The first item for discussion is our RTI plan. That's an acronym which stands for our Response Intervention Plan. Basically, it's an extension of our current plan of a year. Not much has changed. For the board's benefit and community's benefit, a response intervention just speaks to the strategies we use when students struggle. And it's a 3-tiered approach. Tier 3, which is envisioned like a pyramid. Tier 3 captures the majority of students, which is basically classroom interventions that classroom teachers do. Tier 2 is a little bit more targeted for students who struggle, and obviously Tier 1 is for really like 5% of the population, and that's for really targeted interventions. This includes, our district comprehensive improvement plan, the CPISA plan I spoke about before, and includes our MTSS plan, which is our multi-tiered student support plan. So we have a whole variety of interventions, programs that we're using to sort of support students across academic areas. So the state requires us to submit this plan and renew it annually, so it's there for the board's consideration. Like I said, it's a continuation or an extension of the plan that we've had in place in prior years.
Okay, so we need we have a resolution on that one. Okay, so we should take these one at a time since the others involve in discussion. Okay, so we need a motion on item F1. Motion by Trustee Trent, seconded by Trustee Barry. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, including our 2 remote, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Brings us to our second item of discussion is our October 25th workshop meeting. So basically, or coincidentally, the New York State School Boards Association Conference is going to be held on October 26th and 27th in Buffalo. And having a conversation with President Felice and other superintendents, we thought it important that we have representation at that statewide conference. But it would be impossible for me to attend because the conference starts Thursday morning, and obviously if we have a board meeting on Wednesday night, it'd be impossible for us to get to Buffalo in time. And to miss 1 of 2 days of a conference doesn't make it worthwhile going. So what we wanted to discuss with the Board of Trustees is potentially moving that workshop meeting either to Wednesday, November 1st, which is just a subsequent Wednesday, so that it can allow for myself and a couple of trustees who are interested to attend the conference and represent South Country. So I open this up for discussion among the trustees.
November 1st is fine for me.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile to move it because, like you said, to get the full benefit of the conference, you need to be up there for when it begins. I do have a conflict that night that I will try to work out, but if need be, Vice President Hayes can run the meeting in my absence. Is everybody else's schedule clear on the 1st? You think so?
Before you go to that, there's no option, like, to do it on Tuesday, the 24th, before you go away?
Yeah, this is up for discussion, but, I think automatically I picked a Wednesday. But no, it's,
Tuesday, the 24th does
Check my-
not present a conflict for me. How about everybody else?
hold on, let me check my calendar to make sure there's.
Yeah, I guess your calendar would be equally as important.
What was that day?
No, October 24th, the
Opposed
Tuesday,
to the first.
as
Is
opposed
that
to the
the,
1st. We're moving the meeting, we're suggesting moving the meeting on the 25th to either the 24th or November 1st.
Same time on the 24th.
For the first?
You prefer the 1st? Okay, no, that's fair.
It's the same time on the 24th?
Would be the same time.
Okay.
I have no conflict on the 24th.
I would prefer the 24th.
I can do either one.
Is that okay, Trustee Barry? All right.
I don't know.
How about our remote people? Were you able to look at your calendar? You're good? 24th is good for you?
It should be fine.
Okay.
So in terms of procedurally, is this something that requires a vote? Do
I
we
would
just
check
post
with-
it?
Wait, I'm sorry, are we doing the 24th or the 1st?
Well, we're gonna find out procedure first, and then we'll go to the,
So you've already adopted your board meeting schedule,
so
so
we
you
won't
don't
have to do an amendment.
Mhm.
So that would be at the next board meeting we'll have.
Sure, you can answer the next board meeting, because you have a meeting in 2 weeks, right?
Right.
So there's plenty of time.
Okay, so just to see if we have consensus in terms of the preferable date will be October 24th, which is a Tuesday.
Yeah, I will double check my commitment, because my commitment is out of town, on the 1st. But I will double check it tomorrow.
And what about the 24th?
24th is good. Yeah, 24th.
So what I'll do is I'll include this in our update for the week in preparation for our next board meeting where we'll vote on it.
Okay. So there's no action required at this time. We'll do another canvas of the trustees, and then we will put it on the next agenda to amend our schedule. Okay, and your next item.
Finally, I wanted to propose a board retreat, just to sort of, as we launch a new school year, to talk about sort of some of our initiatives, the direction that we're going in. It's going to be informative. We also have to sort of review our board priorities and just familiarize ourselves with those things. So I think it's a good idea. And for the community, board retreats are just informational. They're not official meetings. But it's good to get together outside of the meeting so I want to share the presentation I did with our entire district staff, with the trustees. So they're just informed of what was communicated with our staff and talk about sort of our direction moving forward.
So the presentation you have for superintendent's conference there?
Correct. That would be like the basis of the retreat and, allow for questions and a little bit more, or we can dig deeper into it.
So you more want to have like an open conversation rather than like a goal discussion or goal-oriented discussion?
Both.
Okay.
I just have a question on November 8th. For some reason, I have a board meeting in my calendar that day. Is that correct?
I don't have
Could you
that.
check, Chris?
I have the schedule open, it's November 15th.
Mhm.
Just one meeting in November?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
We'll
fine.
take that in. Okay.
And I'm sorry, we're talking about the board retreat on the 8th?
Board retreat on the 8th of November or the 18th of October. I would prefer the November date. But I'm available for both.
I'm not available on the 8th.
On either one?
The 8th I'm not available for.
Okay.
And what was the other one?
The 18th of October.
That would be better for me.
I can do
18th of
I can do
October?
the 18th of
Okay.
October.
All right, that's fine. You good? Ann and Chris, 18th of November, does that work?
No, October.
October?
I don't think it works for me, but I don't have confirmation yet,
Okay,
but it most likely does not.
okay. So the superintendent, put that in the update tomorrow too.
So we'll go in the update for sure.
How about you,
The 8th will not work.
okay, but the 18th could?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So, just to recap, just our discussion items, we'll include the update, just a reminder that we're gonna look to reschedule our next workshop meeting for October 24th, which is Tuesday, at the regular start time. And also a potential board retreat on October 18th, which seems to be a more reasonable date, but I'll open it to other date proposals in the update, since we have some time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That brings us up to the board consent agenda for curriculum.
Yes, the administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in schedules G1 through G2.
Okay, I need a motion and a second. Motion by trustee Flippin, seconded by trustee Kavanaugh. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Seeing all hands raised, including remote, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And now that brings us up to board consent agenda for personnel.
The administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H1 through H10.
Need a motion and a second for H1 through H10. Motion by trustee Barry. Anybody remote? I'm forgetting to look at you for motions for remote. Sorry. Okay. You want this one? You want this one, Vice President Hayes? You'll second this one. Okay. Seconded by Vice President Hayes. Any discussion on the personnel agenda? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, including remote, the motion carries unanimously. Now this brings us up to the board consent agenda for business.
The administration recommends approval of business items reflected in schedules I1 through I14.
So, Ms. Hayes, you're gonna have a question on I1,
No, ma'am.
okay, a comment? So we'll put the motion on the floor first, and then we'll call for discussion, okay? So a motion by trustee Barry, seconded by trustee Flippin, to approve I1 through 9. And we have, are there any further discussions or comments? Yes, Vice President Hayes.
My comment.
Yes.
I am so glad to see this written out in such a detailed and straightforward fashion, because in past years, when I've seen references to our reserve funds, it hasn't been as clear to me what the actual plan was. And now I can see it in black and white right there on the page. And I really want to thank our business official and the superintendent for doing this for us.
Well, we are looking at the business official now. We are smiling and nodding at her. That I think we're all in agreement that it was a more comprehensive report that was long overdue, and we appreciate the effort that both you and the superintendent.
I have to make a comment. I cannot take any credit for this.
Okay. All right.
So, it was all Ms. Segui. It was a practice that she, observed in her former district. And just so you know, in the future, this report will be provided to the Board of Trustees in June. So it was the first time we were doing it, and just to give a sense of what it is, it's just basically sort of a report on what are the status of our reserves, what they are, our plan in terms of funding them in the next year, and we'll do this on an annual basis. So thank you, Ms. Segui.
Yes, again,
Super.
our thanks and appreciation. Any further comments or discussion on items I1 through 9? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Yep, that would be you. Seeing all hands raised, thank you very much. Including remote, that was remote, correct? You all had the remote. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And now that brings us to the ending session of public commentary. Still no cards? Anybody from the audience wish to speak? Your son doesn't want to speak? Are you here for school?
He's learning.
Well, he's doing a good job.
Participation in government, get that credit.
Good for you, good for you. All right, so we have no other further commentary, so now we go to closing remarks. I forgot to do my opening remarks, so I'll conclude with my with the first report. But around the table, anybody have anything else?
Just really
About
quickly,
remote?
I just want to say thank you, Dan Maraska, for managing 2 remote participants today. So I just wanted to give you a little shout out for having it work smoothly. Thank you.
So I forgot to give my report when the trustees initially gave their report, to say I missed everything that the superintendent so wonderfully reported on today, because my house came down with COVID again. So we were down for the count and missed superintendent's conference, missed opening day, missed the building report, missed the building tour, which that's my first one I've ever missed, because I've enjoyed them many times with Mr. Trent. And it's always been a very rewarding time. So I'm anxious to get back into the schools to see the improvements that you saw. And again, I just want to echo the comments that all of you made about the great effort that our staff and teachers and support staff and administration does to get ready for the school year. You think summertime is a time for resting, but it's really not. It's more work to get ready for a school year, and you had very lofty goals to make our buildings look better and to offer that pride. And I would just like to thank you for a job well done, because it looks like you've accomplished those goals, and we will continue to improve. So thank you.
I appreciate that, President Felice. We missed you. I'm glad you're better.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be satisfied. It's going to be, one of my counterparts, Superintendent Bossert, always says, the race to excellence has no finish line. And that's certainly something I embody. So we're going to continue working. Again, I want to thank Beth Doyle for her leading the charge in terms of our instruction and restorative practices, Mr. Gee, Mr. Briggs, and our entire teaching staff, clerical, everybody plays a part. Everybody's important. So I'm feeling really good about the school year, and I'm looking forward to many more great days.
And it's been exciting. I've been stopped by parents to speak about the turf field and how much they love the turf field, that their children are really enjoying it, because when they kick the ball in one direction, it goes in that direction, not another direction. So I know everybody was looking forward to that change, and I'm so glad it was done, and I look forward to seeing, some of those games too. I got to one game. Did I go to?
We went
A
to the varsity
volleyball game. I
volleyball.
went
It's
to
a
one
tough
plus-
loss, but they're
my
off to a
first
great
visit to
start.
the school. It was a tough loss, but they played well.
Correct.
They did. They played well, and the new uniforms were noticeable.
So just we're working on branding. We want a lot more consistency. Our Clippers mean something, and we're going to get some recognition. So I'm looking forward to just really feeling good about our sports program, academic programs, and just anyone who attends the football game tomorrow, you'll see some improvement. So looking forward to that as well.
Well, that concludes our meeting for tonight, unless there's any other comments.
I make a motion.
Or a motion to adjourn. We have a motion by trustee Trent to adjourn, seconded by trustee Barry. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. We stand adjourned.